Welcome back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 8, Episode 8. We are Dante Bullhauer and Jamie Bullhauer. As always, we've been your hosts for 88 episodes now, so you should be used to us by now. But here we are, coming at you on the tail end of Season 8. So, without further ado, it's not bad. Today we're talking about not creating, not being creative. Just kidding. We're talking about delaying the actual execution of an idea and the ways that could potentially benefit your project or maybe harm. Yeah, I was thinking a little bit about it. Kind of the pros and cons of having an idea, but just kind of, as you know, my dishes are right now, soaking, and not actually executing on it, and what that kind of looks like.
Yeah. And the only thing I could think of as a teacher is calling it wait time, because you do that in the classroom, like you ask a question. But it's not quite. So I actually had two examples that kind of highlighted this, and obviously knowing that you always have to deal with deadlines. And so to a degree, the use of time is different for your most of your professional stuff. But last week, now it would be 2 weeks by the time you see this one, the Battle of Poetry thing on X, had an idea, had the prompt word, and I'm like, I even had basically kind of had the form and the idea, and I executed it, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. And I was ahead of the schedule because there is a deadline. You got to post Friday and Saturday, but I had already I thought about it, and then I decided to scrap it. I still have a copy of that poem, but I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna sit with it. I'm just gonna sit with the idea for a while and just let it foster more ideas or things. And so then I ended up, now I can't actually remember when I wrote it. I did write it in in a different poetic form, but my idea was solid, and enough so that it actually became at least one of the finalists for the week, where I don't think the first one at all would have made it that far. It probably just got the respectful, oh, nice job, Jamie. In that sense. But this one, it just and the form worked but I sat with it for quite some time, all Thursday for sure. I just let it just sit there and simmer, and then I have another poem that I've only taken notes on my walks, and I'm just letting it sit because the idea is really there. I think it's going to be pretty powerful when I finally but it morphs a little bit as a couple lines have changed. I am just not rushing it, even though I wanted to because I wanted to share it on the jam on Thursday night. I was like, oh, I think they'll like this. But yet it it doesn't feel ready. It doesn't, not even just getting it onto paper. I just got those notes, those scraps of lines and stuff that I do on my walk. And I was like, there is something, I know there are lots of the idea, just get it done versus perfection and stuff. But it's like, this use of time, not hurrying with it, has been a good thing lately.
Yeah, and I think there is something about just the click of when okay, say if it's a quick turnaround, oh wow, this hit, I can just run with it, versus when something's just not hitting right. I find I get into that kind of mode most of the time photo editing. Whether it's the coloring or kind of the temperature or the contrast, when something just it just feels a little off, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Just kind of stepping back, a lot of photographers say, if you just take 10 minutes away from looking at the image and then you come back to it, usually something will kind of fall into place, or you'll just have a different view of it. part of that's just the science of looking at the same kind of colors or your same type of edit for so long that it just becomes a little more monotonous. But then the other part is just, like you said, just letting it kind of soak and waiting for, oh, maybe I need to darken the shadows, or maybe I need to adjust this here or there. And being in a very tight deadline space, I feel like a lot of creativity is pretty kind of people want things snappy and now and all that stuff. Being in that type of industry, it's hard to just let stuff soak. It is sometimes you swing more to the pendulum of just get it done, move on to the next thing, versus let's just let this sit here and see if something comes to us that we can make it better.
Yeah. And maybe someday Stephen King will actually watch one of these. His Under the Dome story or book is kind of based off of that. He said he had this idea, and it just, for a long time, it just sat with him until he got. And that book too, that's one of his more extensive ones, and it was a mini series type thing too. And so it just sat there. It just, until that time. And I think if you have the opportunity, the hard part, one of the hurdles, because there is always positives and negatives, is that you could forget about it. And that's where me and Stephen King disagree, where I think you should record all your thoughts, because then you can go back to it, a type of thing. But that, I don't know if it is your just having that relaxed mindset allows the creativity to go. Because I'm sure, though, at times when you're really busy, sometimes the creativity clicks too.
Yeah, sometimes whether it's putting together, those 6 championship hype videos, or it's just knocking out 2 or 3 projects in one day. Sometimes it's like, I don't need any soak time, wait time. I can just zip through these projects, boom, get them all done. I feel great about all of them. I would say it's probably like 65% being letting it sit helps. Or I'm like, that would help me, versus I'm in that zone of being able to feel really, really good and feel like this product is probably at least pretty close to the best that I can do. I think some of that kind of soak time that you can help circumvent is hitting export or finishing that product, and if you have the time, then kind of reflecting on it and letting it sit in that sense, so you can look at the finished product as a whole, watch it, look at it, whatever, and then kind of come back to it if you have that time and say, oh, I can make a change here, I can make a change here. So you're not as much in the weeds of the poem or the project. You have a more 30,000 foot view, and you can kind of see it as a consumer where you'd want maybe some improvements or changes.
Yeah, I think that aspect also, we've mentioned, I'm a big component of building that bridge, so that the reader or person viewing the art or whatever gets, with even with a little thought, still gets the message. The other part, then, with letting it sit, though, that could be a negative, is like, so in this poem that I'm just sitting with and taking notes as I go, I have this phrase or these couple of lines, and they have probably morphed. I'm probably about the 4th version of just that segment. And so it's, to a degree, a little bit of doubt. Maybe it was like, okay, hold on, what's why? And to a degree, it's also the fun part of the mystery of creativity is, why is it morphing? Why is it changing?
Yeah.
Am I getting further away from what I'm trying to say? And I know at the end of the day, as an artist, I just decide, but it's been pretty interesting because the weather's been, even though it's been a little bit cold, I've been getting some good walk. And it's like this phrase segment of this poem keeps changing. So is it trying to get to the best creative line, or the other negative possibility is the overthinking, the over use or not use, the revision, over revising it until it's not what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I think definitely with the bigger projects, I can tend to do that at times. It's just, oh, should I do this? Should I take this angle? Should I do like? It just becomes that your net is cast too wide, and it's like now we've lost a plot, basically. Like I don't even know what my original like intention was here. So I have fallen more into the less wait time, get it done, and I want to steer back because I think it's kind of like aversion therapy or whatever. I learned through someone that was the exact opposite. It was just make sure it's perfect before you ever hit export. So I swung all the way over, and now I need to just kind of come back to the middle. But it can be definitely a negative and keep you from actually hitting that kind of perfect medium of getting it done while still being in that kind of creative flow of your intention of the idea versus adding more and more and more sauce to the pasta until you can't see the pasta type thing. And it's just, I mean, with most things in life, it's just kind of a balance of figuring out where to put in the wait time and where to just kind of say, okay, we've sat on it for too long. We're not getting, I guess, as close as I want to be to the finish line. We just need to get there.
Yeah. I don't know. And you also, within the aspect, because you talked about it also building in some time to be reflective, to reach, with that. And I think that your life schedule can have an influence on that. And it's one of the reasons, besides being healthy and really wanting to be here for a major event and stuff, is that walking and things like that gives me a time to let things sit and to think about and stuff. And so that gets scheduled in too. I think if you have, I went with Brian Regan. If your schedule is so tight, you have to zip your microwave your Pop-Tarts, you might want to loosen up.
I want to reflect on that schedule.
Yeah, but it is though. If your schedule, even as a creative, if your schedule is just bang, bang, bang all the time, I think you might have some of your projects actually be a lot less powerful than they could be if you had built in some wait time or reflective time, whatever that you want to call it, so that those projects, and I think if you trust your heart or your spirit, I think you know which projects, and you gotta have the courage. My first poem that I did for now 2 weeks ago, and I had the form and I wrote it, and I honestly, I was like, I could have posted it. I could have. It was, but I was like, no. It's just like it wasn't. It was not what I wanted to do. So I kept it. I still keep a record of it. I still have that. But I just sat for all of Thursday for sure, just with it and just let it, and then I actually still used another different type of poetic form, and it got expanded. And you got to give yourself the chance to be creative by building in some time to let your muses, let your mind, whatever, work.
Yeah. So prospective clients, turn this off right now, just real quick. But what you touched on is exactly kind of where I'm at right now. Usually at the end of state basketball through April, so end of March through April is pretty slow. And I kind of like it that way. To come down from a super busy season has been a lot busier than I thought. And there's several big projects on the table with a week of travel and also an entire documentary that I am put on a less than 30-day timeline on. And I'm going to be gone for a week in the middle of that. And on top of it, I am averaging like 4 texts a day before 9 a.m. on project stuff. So I'm just started, like, I have tangibly noticed, again, clients, this is not your project, these are the other projects. But I've tangibly noticed the amount of effort that I am putting in before just kind of hitting export or delivering the product. It is way down because I just can't, like, there's just too many things kind of swarming around where I don't have the sit time or the wait time. For example, I have the white backdrop cloth, whatever.
Yep.
I don't iron it. I usually don't need to, whatever. It's just kind of to cut things out, not really to have that photo with the backdrop in it. But for this shoot, the client wanted the backdrop in it, but just wanted it pure white, whatever. And in Photoshop, I was trying to figure out the best way to do that where it didn't just look like she was cut out and put on just a white piece of paper or whatever. And I just kind of had to find something that kind of worked, kind of jimmy rig it, and then just hit export, because I don't have the sit time to sit and think about what's the best way to do it, or how can I make it better. And that's not necessarily creative. It's more kind of just figuring out the technical side. But on the same vein of, it just feels like, at least mentally, I don't have time, because it's just got to get this done, got to do this, whatever. And it does denigrate the quality of your product a lot more. Like, it's a slippery slope, and then you're like, okay, I need to get back up to the standard of what I want to create and have out there for either clients or just an audience.
Yeah. And you're solving problems is creative. Like, it's creative thinking.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because you got to think through and sometimes go way back and bring a skill set back that maybe you haven't used in a while. And part of that happens when you can reflect, you can think, and stuff along that line, and your business and anybody who actually gets to make their living off their creativity, you probably know and understand that go mode of just relying on your skill set. Now, that's not a bad thing. Your skill set, other creators, your skill set can carry you. But it's also that is satisfaction, the filling of the bucket, that creativity, even when it's for a consumer or a customer, can actually fill. And I think that slippery slope is the part that can really hurt down the line, because you get into a rut, type of thing, and stuff doesn't feel joyful.
Yeah, because I derive a lot of joy from being able to sit down and put time and kind of wade in my creativity. It's not just kind of the execution, it's being able to feel the creativity and feel the transformation and creation of the idea. And that has not been the case just these past 2 weeks, especially, where I thought it would just be kind of time for me to delve more into that creativity. It's been just kind of the hamster wheel thing. And so there are definitely things that I can do on my part to help change that. Like I reflected on Friday I just sat down and journaled for a while, which was immensely helpful. But analyzing that routine, I think, is important, because it is just, it feels more like a job. And we talk about burnout a lot on this podcast, and it's a very real thing. But knowing where that burnout comes from, I think a lot of the times my burnout is probably from not having the wait time, the sit time to just feel the creativity and see where it takes me. Because when you're in that creativity, to me, it doesn't always matter if it's just for me or if it's for a client. If I'm like in the creativity and I'm being creative, it all feels the same. It's not work at that point anymore. Yeah. It's just being creative and having fun doing something that I'm skilled at. So it definitely, whether it's taking on less jobs or finding more time, whatever, there is a critical piece of creativity that is not the actual execution of the art form or the medium.
Yeah. So I guess our biggest takeaway, or part is, it is needed. wait time or reflection time, whatever you want to call it. You could schedule it or have it be a part. Like I walk, that's part of it. But sometimes it is just like on that Thursday, I still taught, I still went to track practice, but I was sitting there in the back of my head going, okay, what if I, and I just let it simmer. So every project or everything has a aspect, and when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. I got that is an incredible place to be, but schedule in and foster as a part of the schedule wait time or reflection time, whatever you want to call it. I think you'll see your creativity output have a little bit more depth to it, a little bit more joy, that aspect.
And I do think that writing that stuff down as those new kind of aspects of that idea come to you is important, because there are a lot of times where I'll have an idea and forget, because just get distracted.
I had one the other day,
and that there's something missing. It's like the song when you just know a couple beats to it and you can't find the song.
Yeah.
Writing down kind of like your idea, and then whether it's a specific effect or whatever that you want into it, I think is important, because it helps you stay within the rails of that kind of idea wait time zone, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that was our season 8, episode 8 of The Creative Moment. Again, we are on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the places. Thank you to everyone that's been watching, listening. Potentially a new studio for those of you that say we live in a newsroom. It kind of looks like, I'm not gonna lie. But potentially a little change of scenery, which could be fun as the weather starts to get nicer and things like that. So just kind of be on the lookout for that, maybe beginning of season 9. But otherwise, thank you guys as always for listening, watching, however you're consuming us, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.